Back here on CBS Sports HQ, where our coverage of Big Ten Media Days from Las Vegas continue. We learned a lot day one yesterday from Commissioner Tony Petitti, Ohio State's Ryan Day, and plenty more. But here's a look at the team speaking today. That includes Minnesota, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Washington. We'll hear from Oregon's Dan Lanning, but we zero in on Penn State as head coach James Franklin will be speaking to the media shortly. You know, Penn State has been a team that's just gotten better each year under head coach James Franklin. He holds the most wins in a 3-year span in Happy Valley with 34 ahead of Joe Paterno, but has yet to win a national championship. Key players like quarterback Drew Allar make his return this season. And of course, this running back duo featuring Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. Penn State really returns as a true contender to win the Big Ten as well as continue to knock on the door of a national championship. For much more on Penn State, let's go ahead and welcome in Danny Kanell Bryant McFadden live from Big Ten Media Days from Las Vegas. Gentlemen, great to see you. Let's go ahead and begin with the hype that is really valid, BMAC, entering this season for a Penn State team that has just been knocking on the door of a national championship.
No question, Jordan. It's very valid, and the reason why is because they are the most talented team in the Big Ten for this upcoming season with the best quarterback in the Big Ten. Drew Allar has the most experience. He's been playing at a high level for quite some time. Over the last 2 years, Danny, I think he has 23 wins. So he's been a winner. The issue for Penn State in terms of getting to that next level is capitalizing on opportunities against prime-time matchups. That's an issue. When you look at top 5 opponents from a year ago, 0-3. 0-3. The 5-star quarterback in Drew Allar in those matchups, he completed around 50% of his passes, 3 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's not winning football. So now when you look at this year with the uncertainty at Ohio State at the quarterback position, the same can be said for Oregon at the quarterback position. This has to be Penn State's year. You don't get Michigan. You get Oregon there in Happy Valley, and you go to Ohio State late in November. You have to like this makeup when you look at the experience and most notable, the quarterback in Drew Allar. So me personally, I agree. This has to be their year.
There's a reason they're the favorite, and they're the reason they're going to get picked to win the Big Ten for all those things that you mentioned. But I feel like Drew Allar has more pressure on him than any player in the entire country because of what you mentioned. On the biggest stages, he has disappeared. Whether it was against Ohio State, whether it was against Notre Dame in the playoffs, the biggest stages, he hasn't played great. And he's amassed incredible stats. He's been really good when he has an advantage. But when it's even par and when he's got to step up and be a difference maker, that to me is the difference that he has to be this season, because it's going to be challenging, but they've got everything there coming back for him. They've got his second year with Andy Colton-Nicky, the offensive coordinator, so he should be more comfortable. They went out and added some depth at the wide receiver position because that was an issue last year, but now he doesn't have Tyler Warren, his favorite target, the tight end that's now playing in the NFL. So I think a lot of this season hinges on Drew Allar, but I love the experience he brings, and I do think he's ready to take that next step.
They're in an incredible spot entering this season, and it all starts and ends really with quarterback Drew Allar. So let's stay here for a moment. Danny, coming back to you on this, QB to QB, in addition to showing up on that big stage, these primetime games, where else do you have to see Allar really take the next step in his game if this team wants to go on and compete and ultimately win a national championship?
Really, I mean, the difference to me in being good and great is when you're off script, right? A lot of quarterbacks can go through their progressions. They're smart. They know who to get the football to. And I thought I saw it last year against USC. That was Drew Allar's best game that he had last year. And there was a multiple 4th down conversions when they needed him against USC. He came up big in that game. And a lot of them were scrambles when he had to get out of trouble, and all of a sudden he just tucks the ball and runs it. Others were outside the pocket. Same thing in the Big Ten championship game that he played against Oregon. I know they lost the game, and that game was kind of out of hand, and he kind of kept him in it, kept it competitive. But I did like the fact that he was a little bit more freewheeling. It's almost, I think Drew Allar's biggest thing is I would like to see him take more risks and take more shots down the field. But then when you give him that opportunity, like they did at Notre Dame in the 2-minute drill at the end of the game, they're like, let's go win this thing, and he throws an interception. It's just you got to see him be the difference for Penn State. And it's probably only going to happen maybe 2-3 games this year because they're going to be a significantly more talented team than most of the teams they play against. But on the biggest stage, what does he do?
Become more of a playmaker in those moments. Because the thing about Drew Allar, I love his pocket presence in the pocket. He can make every throw that you need a quarterback to make. But sometimes, Drew, it's okay to take the football and say, everyone move out of the way. He's very, very athletic. I would love to see him become more of a +1 in the running game, either QB designs or just improvising on the fly when things are not there. And the route concepts, take off and utilize your athleticism. When you look at some of the high-level quarterbacks, even going back to a year ago, when you look at Will Howard for Ohio State, when he started running the football, that provided another element for what they faced off against in the national championship game. As a former defender, I hated playing against quarterbacks that could become a +1 in the running game because it's like trying to defend 12 instead of 11. You don't have the numbers to do that. And Drew Allar has that ability, and it's okay to become a playmaker and say, hey, everyone move out of the way. Route concepts are not there. Let me utilize my athleticism, get down, get positive yards.
You guys, going ahead and looking at this schedule, B-Mac, I want to go ahead and pull it up for you. The biggest challenge for Penn State will really be a road trip to Ohio State, as you mentioned earlier, and then, of course, getting Oregon at home for a primetime whiteout game. Dare I say, B-Mac, this schedule is quite favorable for the Nittany Lions.
That's why I stated earlier, Jordan, Danny, and I'm saying this to Penn State fans as well. This has to be your year. Enough is enough. We know so many Penn State fans that have seen this movie over and over and over again. It used to be before the merger of the Pac-12 teams, you couldn't beat Ohio State and Michigan. Now in comes Oregon. Oregon kind of gave you that same mindset a year ago. Well, this year you don't play Michigan. You get Oregon with a new quarterback there at the crib. Whiteout game, primetime stage. Early in the season, while Oregon is still trying to figure things out, you got to take advantage of that opportunity. And then you go to Columbus in November with the more experienced team along with the quarterback. You have to do it. This has to be your year because you're getting the best teams in your conference with unknowns at the quarterback position. Change over coaching personnel with Ohio State. So if you're James Franklin, enough is enough. We don't want to see the same movie we've seen in years past. We know the ending. Penn State fans will always cry. They want to cheer and jump for joy and take shots.
You know what's interesting about that schedule? They're almost a lock to get into the playoffs. I don't see them stumbling and having 9-3, 10-2. If they don't beat Oregon or Ohio State, it becomes a little bit with the weak non-conference. Do they get in? But I think they get one of those. I think they're a lock to get in the playoffs. Then it's how do you respond the way Ohio State did last year? Remember, Ohio State limped into the playoff. They lost 2 games in the regular season, including against Michigan, who was having a down year last year. But they responded. You mentioned it. Will Howard steps up big against Tennessee and against Oregon out there in the Rose Bowl. That's, to me, is what's going to elevate this team. And, you know, talking with Ryan Day yesterday, he was talking about how they managed the regular season and how they tweaked little things so they're peaking at the right time. That's the thing I think is going to be critical for Penn State this year is to manage the adversity and make sure that when it's time to peak in the playoffs, that's when they peak. Because that narrative is still not gone away that James Franklin can't beat a top 5 team because they still haven't.
Yeah, no denying Penn State is preparing for one of the more anticipated seasons in program history. And B-Mac, the pressure is on because he's just hyping it up. So hopefully they do deliver this year. The bar has really been raised. B-Mac, we know you're picking Penn State to win the Big Ten this year, and they will go on to meet expectations. Danny, are you on the same page?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't like when I'm on board with everybody, but I think they are the pick. I think it's pretty clear cut. Like, I think everybody else are trying to make a case that Julian Sand's going to be good, or Dante Moore is going to be good for Oregon, or they're going to fill a lot of the missing pieces they have. Penn State doesn't have those question marks, and with a new offensive and defensive coordinator, Ohio State, I do think Penn State is the pick to go with if the smart money should be on Penn State. That being said, I would not bet the house on it because I still need them to go out there and do something they haven't done.
B-Mac, are you going to the table and you're putting some money down then?
I love the value. Yeah, I mean, plus 230. They should be the favorites, but they're not. But you have to love the value with Penn State. For everything that Danny's mentioned, the same for me. Quarterback, you take. James Franklin, you take. experienced defense you take. They have it. They have it. And you get one of the best teams in the Big Ten at home early in the year. Like, what? This has to be their year. And Danny, you said something that was so impactful for me. I don't know if you guys heard him, but I heard him. Mm-hmm. Even if they have a slip up against one of the two powerhouses in the Big Ten, they still get into the playoffs. So it's almost like if you win the games you're supposed to win, and if you have a slip up against one of the perennial powerhouses in Ohio State and Oregon, you still get in. You still have a shot, even if you don't go flawless in the regular season. So if you know you got a for sure seat in the tournament, you got to make something happen. You cannot have these letdowns after letdowns after letdowns. It's not good for people's blood pressure, especially their Penn State fans.
No, okay.
What gets really interesting, Jordan, real quick, what's gets really interesting, if they don't beat either one of those, they don't beat Oregon or Ohio State, and they're sitting at 10-2, that is going to be a rough case for them to make because their non-conference is so weak, and that's been such a popular conversation. I do think they have to win one of those. I do think they do. But my goodness, that'll be an interesting debate.
It's too soon for that, Danny. Why are you throwing that out?
Hey, Danny, get your guy under control and make sure he has that same energy as we talk about our alma mater next. You guys stay put. More from our guys in Vegas, but you can watch Penn State and the entire Big Ten on CBS this season. It returns August 30th on CBS, or you can stream on Paramount+.